Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I just got in, showered, back from TwitchCon. It's currently Monday as I'm recording this, and I'm going to try to get it out in the evening. I had a pretty bad post-nasal drip last night, so I'm a little bit, my voice is a little bit gone. Fortunately, other than that, I feel okay today. Of course, I got to go get tested just to make sure I am actually okay. But I figure I'll record this and render it, and then I got to go pick up the cats who are not home at the moment, so they are not going to be a part of this weekly Q&A. I know you're sad. You've already clicked away. But I've got some questions to answer. I'm not going to answer all of them. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm so wiped. There's no way I'm answering all of them. So I'll get through what I can and then get this out. And next week we'll have a better weekly Q&A. Anyway, with that, hashtag Mondays with Aloha and Ivy. Nope, not today. Oh, and hey, Haps. Just want to say thanks for this segment, the work you do on this channel. These videos get me through some pretty boring overnight shifts, so I'm glad they're of help. I'm curious, what thing, quality of life, story beat, etc., that hasn't been teased or alluded to, would you be the most excited to have announced at either upcoming fan fest, aside from the friends list or portrait jank? I mean, obviously the large-scale stuff is the big thing, and I actually have to record a video. There is an interview where they talk a little bit about large-scale content, just a comment or two on it. But there's some other interesting stuff in the JP roundtable media thing that usually happens every fan fest. So I'll get into that. But me, it's whether or not it had anything to do with the relic, I want those large scale areas because I do spend a lot of time in those. So that's definitely number one. Hashtag Mondays with a happy mister. Hey ya, hi. Thanks for these videos to keep me company on long work commutes. Again, glad they're of service. Here's my question. Do you think gear a la Eureka Boja with special area specific stats set bonuses would be a good reward? I made mention of that before, of giving something that's more unique to Criterion in its gear set, but it's still having a functional item level. I do think that above all else, it needs to have an item level that can function outside of Criterion. But they should always be experimenting and exploring the option of adding more interesting effects in these more niche styles of content. Because I think that drives a lot of engagement with the content, more so than I think we expect it to until we're in the middle of doing it. And that was especially true for Bozja after they kind of tuned everything up post-Eureka. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, hi, hello, hey, hi, aloha. That means hello and goodbye. Hope your TwitchCon and FanFest weekend went well. Yeah, today is like the worst I feel, and I think it's just I got in late. I barely slept. A few too many tequila shots. Whew. I wish I'd asked this last week, but better late than never. Is there anything you're hoping they announce for Dawn Trail that you know is so unlikely that you still hold out the smallest bit of hope? No, I largely function within what I feel like are possibilities. I don't like to kind of create major headcanons about things that I think they could or will or might. I look at what they've done historically, and then I just kind of accept that I might be surprised. Like, I didn't think we were going to get the 16 collab announcement, but I had posited it as a possibility. And then it happened. So, like, stuff like that is really as far as I ever go. But then you have stuff like, you know, the double die channels you mentioned, new job weapons to old ultimates, like stuff like that. Yeah, that's the stuff I just kind of wait to be surprised by instead of like actively waiting for it to be announced. In an effort to reduce my workload, there's a question before this asked if we were going to do a State of the Realm on 16. Seems unlikely at this point. There were some things in the work that it just took a while to get off the ground, and then I just ran out of time. So that's unlikely. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Apps. Hi. Hope you and the kitties are all right. They're going to be pissed at me in a couple hours. Had a quick question. Do you have any background lore on your Warrior of Light? No. I play the video game. That's it. I don't do any sort of major role-playing for Final Fantasy XIV, and it would take a lot for me to get into a character for something more formal like D&D. I think it's one of those things, if everyone around me was doing it, I'd have an easier time doing it. But if I'm the only one who wants to do it, I can't maintain that amongst like people just being like, yo, what are you doing? So no, I don't. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing great. Doing all right. That the cats are doing even better. Find out in a couple hours. My question today is about PvP. The series Battle Pass usually lasts for the duration of a patch, which is around 4 months. But 6.5x is going to probably last until next June at the earliest. It's more like 8 to 9 months. Do you think they'll do 2 series instead of 1? It's entirely possible. There's no precedent with which I can base it off of. Because this is our first expansion with series as a feature. I wouldn't be that surprised, but when I think about other features that usually last 1 patch, something like Unreal, for example, that normally stays. They don't rotate in another Unreal at any point. So they might treat it like that. I wouldn't bank on there being another series, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they did it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Haps. Hope TwitchCon has been fun. It was a good time. I was wondering what your thoughts would be on theming an Ultimate around Alliance raids. I mean, yeah, I've discussed this a ton of times in the past. There's no reason they can't other than needing to rebalance stuff for 24 people to make it 8 people. But I mean, that's fight design. Like Ultimates, yeah, you borrow ideas, but you always need to rewrite the mechanics to work more diligently anyway. So you basically are rewriting the way 8-man mechanics work when you get to those. There's just no precedent because they've never done it before. They've literally only ever done main scenario and the raid series, the 8-man raid series. They've never done a trial series. They've never done like Hildebrand or anything silly like that. So until they do it once, I'm not expecting it. I think the next one is going to be Shinryu, even though I don't really know how that's going to look at the end of the day. And I hope one day they do explore the Alliance raids in the form of an... And keep in mind, I mean, as an 8-man ultimate, not a 24-man ultimate. To save a bit of time, there was a question about whether the Manderville would use comedy or causality tomes. Causality. They're going to use the uncapped tomes pretty much every time. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Greetings, Happy. Hi. Hope you're doing all right and enjoying Vegas. Never been there, but love to one day. Vegas was hell this week. Ugh, just the construction for the F1 and just the Ubers. Ugh, it was brutal. The con was fine, but Vegas... with the latest announcement you covered in your last video, the information about a lot of content, Alliance raid dungeon, taking into consideration the template, you think there are plans for a new deep dungeon, doom us into another expansion without an endgame zone? No, again, I mentioned this earlier. There is an interview where they talk about an exploration zone, and that there's discussions. They also brought it up. There's a few things they said in the first fan festival that didn't carry over in terms of like what they said in the second one. Like in the first one, they said new ultimate raid, but that the only reason it said raid, I guess, was that there was no designation for plural when it was translated, so it's not a literal just single ultimate raid. We'll see if that actually ends up being the truth or not, but I recall something in that vein. And they also did mention something like an exploration zone at NA, and then recently again in an interview. So I think they know that the demand for it is big. We need a more formal, hey, yes, in a live letter or in a keynote, yes, we are doing this. Before I think people will feel safe with that thought. Speedrunning, another question before this one. It asked how I felt about the Black Mage job gauge. That thing is a mess. Like, I know what it all means, but if I was a new player to Black Mage and I saw that before, like, playing the job, I'd just give up on the spot. I don't know what they could do. I mean, simple mode's okay, but, like, I don't even know, other than, like, removing some gameplay mechanics, which we all know people don't want. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps, hope you're doing well. Thank you. You too. News from FanFest out and the reveal of Vanadil being the Alliance raid. Ugh. I was wondering if you would make some videos. Yep, I saw that question coming a mile away. Yeah, I already have plans on all that. There's going to be a big flood of Final Fantasy XI related stuff in the coming months, which I know is like very far ahead, but want to ride the Dawn Trail expansion hype instead of the patch 6.1, which I'll probably still do some stuff for it then anyway. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hi. You planning to continue the Trials and Raid retrospective? I think it's on Shadowbringers, which I've technically already done videos on. Like, that's barely even retro at this point. You know, it's only been like 2 or 3 years. And so I hadn't really considered, I mean, I can, but like I said, those videos kind of already exist. It was just how I felt about it on content and not how I feel about it like a year and a half, a couple of years later. So it's a maybe, but right now it's Astro and Dark Knight that I have to get done, and then maybe we go back to the old ones. There was someone asking if I have any sort of insight into the release window. No, we just know summer. There's no way I can say it's going to be a specific time frame. I mean, I would guess personally July, but even then, I would have to... there's no precedent for me to base that on. Like, I'm trying to base it based on like when 0.55 was and then how many months will go after that. But that doesn't work because we've had a whole new patch release schedule for this entire expansion. So it'd be wrong of me to assume that that pattern is still the same when I had to adjust all my predictions for the pattern before, and this will be my first case point. Funny, because I answered that, and that was the quick one, but now I have this one in front of me anyway. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're having fun in Vegas. I did. 2 questions for you. Okay. Do you also feel they are hiding Alfie in the trailer? I think Alphino is probably standing too close to the female Hrothgar. I think that's literally all it is. I think they're probably like shoulder to shoulder, and there's no good shot where they can show both of them. But that's my only guess. I doubt it. No, because we see Alice. Alice and Alphino wouldn't have growth spurts at different times, as far as I know. Anyway, top 5 Alliance raid and top 5 normal raid. I think I made videos on that. I would go take a peek. I'm almost certain I made videos on that. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. How you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Sorry if this has been asked before. Almost everything here has been asked before. I just get used to it. Now that we're nearing the end of Endwalker, what's your final takeaway on PvP? Personally, I think Crystalline Conflict has panned out pretty well, and the mechanics of PvP as a whole still feel fun, but I'm sad to see the state of Frontlines and the heavy AoE meta and prevalence of botting. Oh, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about Frontlines. Oh, yeah, no, Frontlines I can't stand. I hate the 3-team thing that they've been doing for ages. We really just need more 2-team modes. The 3-team thing is just, in my opinion, it's not even worth investing in trying to make it better. Just get rid of all the 3-team stuff and go back down to 2-team stuff. And maybe give any sort of care to your single 2-team mode that isn't Crystalline Conflict, maybe. As for Crystalline Conflict, it suffers from a particular thing. One is that it's fun, but not fun enough to do without rewards. And the rewards, I feel, are underwhelming. So that's just kind of a tough thing. I think that's a lot more of the Final Fantasy XIV culture than it is a specific problem, because I think it's a lot of fun, but I'm just not going to commit the time to getting Crystal every season. I'm just not going to do that. So unless there was something that I absolutely had to have, I'm very reward and goal-oriented. So, I mean, that's just where I'm at with it. Skipping another one, there was a question, do I think they'll fix the healer role? I don't think there is a fix to it. And I put fix in quotes because it's individual gripes that players have and not actual fundamental issues that the jobs have. I think there's a bigger issue with healers not needing all the tools they've been getting, and that to me is more of an encounter design problem that would force healers to be more engaged with their tools instead of just spamming, you know, their dot to keep it up, their you know, GCD damage skill, and then whatever job mechanic they have to do once in a while, and then, you know, press their OGCDs and everyone's fixed. You know, that to me is a bigger problem than the actual healer role, is that they don't have to engage with their healer tools enough. As for the question in front of us, hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Hap, hope your TwitchCon FanFest weekend was great. Thank you. This may be a controversial question, probably. As a huge MMO fan who typically prefers the classic style MMOs, feel modern MMOs have over time been charged away from games I once loved into the games I still enjoy. Even though they don't quite scratch the same itch as the older titles, mentality bring up in a previous Q&A how some people provide feedback for things they do not like and how they want said things changed, and that they could like it, but ultimately do not want said thing, even if it is changed, to be something they could like. Do you think modern MMO developers maybe been listening too much to players with the mentality that's making MMOs for players who never really wanted to play MMOs? Yeah, it's market appeal. MMOs are expensive. You need people to not feel intimidated by entering the genre, or the games, they basically just cater to a smaller audience. Nothing wrong with making an MMO that deliberately caters to a smaller audience, but from the biggest companies, that's never going to work. You know, they're going to constantly be trying to appeal to people to get them in the door or to bring them back through the door, and not to appease the people who want to play 16 hours a day, who, quite frankly, having played some classic MMOs, are never truly happy anyway. I'm happy. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Happy. Hi. When UCOT was first teased, or the concept of Ultimates more broadly, how was it introduced by Square, and how did its speculated difficulty by the rating community prior to release compared to its actual difficulty? Oh, we memed on Ultimates so hard before it came out, because at that point, the dev team had a habit of making statements about the difficulty they were aiming for with certain raids and just being so mad. Like, they told us that normal mode raids in Heaven's Ward would be like Coil with Echo. It is nothing like Coil with Echo. It's like Coil if you removed Coil and then also gave it Echo. And then they said for Midas that the difficulty was between second and final Coil, not even remotely close. It was just as much of a problem as everything else. It was just, they constantly made over promises or just inaccurate ones. And so we meme the hell out of it, like, I'll probably beat Ultimate in a day, you know? And then it wasn't the case, and everyone's surprised and they really loved it. So that was it. That was what happened. All right, I read this question on screen before actually like committing to answering it, because I'm so tired that I was like, it's a lot of words. So it's basically like, what level of complexity or button count do you think would be acceptable around level 50 if they were to rework lower level jobs? I think Monk is the premier example of what job complexity should or could be at its maximum at level 50. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's just the answer. That's just the perfect lineup of things. Because then you still get new stuff that's kind of exciting to unlock, and you do still kind of feel a little incomplete without the higher levels, but you don't feel helpless. You still feel largely familiar. There are 2 questions I'm going to speed run. One of them is, do I think they'll rework coils to be more like an actual normal mode raid? No, because you can unsync it so easily. They're not going to go back and do that when the solution is kind of as it is now. And the other one is, do Garleans exist on the other shards? I don't think so, but I don't pay enough attention to say that definitively, so put an asterisk next to that answer. In front of me, hashtag Happy Mondays with Mr. Muscles. Oh, God. Salutations. Hello. A non-14 question, but I'm curious if you use any app or method for you to track your gym progress. For myself, I write everything down on my phone. Yeah, I just put stuff in like little notes. I just like say, oh, this much for this many reps and whatnot. I try not to focus too hard on that because it's so easy to get wrapped up in all that stuff that you forget to actually work out. But that just depends on the individual and how they handle, you know, the information flow or the progress or lack thereof. It's all interpretive. So, yeah, that's it. But I mean, MyFitnessPal and a Fitbit is like what most people will use, if anything. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones out there. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hiya, Haps, and happy Monday. It sure is Monday. One of my favorite parts of MMOs is working towards show-off content. Those highly visible items and mounts that require a lot of time or skill to achieve. Personally, I feel like there's less of that content than I'd like in 14. As unsynced clears can make old feats trivial. Brought this on the forums, floating the idea that perhaps things like mounts can be excluded from loot tables when unsynced. Nah. Which I thought could help with content longevity as well. It won't. People just won't do it. That's it. That's all that'll happen is people just will stop doing it. That's literally it. Do you have any suggestion for ways to introduce more show-off content? I mean, they just need harder content. They either need content that is grindier, like the Pterodon, or you need, or my ocean fishing title, or you need content that's harder, like Ultimates. There's really no other way to go about it. I don't think it's worth gating off mid-tier content. To have that. I mean, you could make more dungeon mounts, you know, stuff like we used to have in WoW with like Stratholme and all the Proto-Drakes and all that stuff. You know, Zulaman and Zul'Gurub and all that stuff. Like, if you're aware of WoW, like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the other alternative, is to introduce optional mounts, but not take away the ones that are already there. But that's about it, and I don't think they'll do that kind of stuff. All right, I apologize. I haven't eaten, and my stomach is killing me right now. And I didn't have any water when I got home, too. I just hopped in the shower and then hopped right on here. So I'm going to lightning round the rest. So I apologize in advance. It's just, you know, it's a rough Monday. So I definitely want to get this out, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want to overstrain myself. Someone asked, why is the HP on the new 24-man bosses so low? I don't know. I feel like with the 24-man bosses, they knew so many new players came into Endwalker that they kind of lowered the bar a little bit for what the 24-mans demand. I don't think that'll happen again next expansion, and I really hope somebody asks them about that in particular. And your second question kind of falls into the same category of, are they playing it too safe? Yeah, I mean, I think they're just playing to the fact that so many people are new to Endwalker more than anything else. Someone who says they're frustrated with the homogenization of jobs in 14, reliance on 2-minute windows. Yeah, I mean, we've had this discussion a million times. Do you think they'll ever step back and revisit the design to make classes more unique? I mean, what made them more unique was their job synergy specifically with each other. And that made kind of endgame toxic. And as we get more and more jobs, that would only make endgame more and more toxic. So I don't think so. No, I think it's going to be about trying to make the job gauges and the flow of abilities still feel largely different. Again, I think Monk and honestly Monk, Black Mage are 2 really good examples of jobs that never quite feel like they're part of the 2-minute meta, even if they have like a standard 2-minute buff window, because they're so different in terms of how they enter it, how they exit it, how they play around it, that they become the pristine examples of job design and how it could be if they still wish to engage with a 2-minute window. So I guess that's my only thing, is I more jobs that are built kind of like Monk and Black Mage. There's another 2-minute meta will survive in a DT, almost certainly. An opinion regarding data centers and worlds. I know nothing about the data centers. I can tell you right now, I have anecdotally had the worst experiences on Primal, which is why you regularly see me kind of bash Primal. It's just like Primal is where, you know, I've been berated for DPSing as a healer and had to hit them with the, but did you die? I saw somebody not keep the dragon. I saw somebody not bring the dragon north for Labyrinth of the Ancients, and I literally watched someone have a complete meltdown and be like, this is how we do it on Primal. Get those ether strats out of here. And meanwhile, by the time he had taken the time to type that, the Bone Dragon was already fucking dead. So it just goes to show how absolutely asinine some people can be. It's just not respecting the fact that it makes no difference except that you save time. I've always said, If you really want to be optimal with the Bone Dragon, drag it towards the party so people don't have to run as far to get in range of it. Don't drag it away from the party because that's stupid. But people will be stupid. So that's literally the only thing. I've had great experiences with people on Crystal, but, you know, the actual rating all happens on an A, and that's, you know, where on Ether, and that's where I take place. Then we have, oh my goodness, there's so many very, very long questions. The 1227 in the name is your birthday. I thought it was a 1337 joke. Yeah, a lot of people think that. So let's see. What's the thing you're most looking forward to in Dawn Trail? I always just look forward to more Final Fantasy 14 because I like the game as it is, and I want to see it improve or release new things that I enjoy. So it's always just new for me that I enjoy. It's a joke regarding the current state of the game lacking mid-core content. Well, it's not a joke. It's just, it genuinely does. It's really just Savage and Extremes. Criterion is, but people just have a really hard time getting motivated to do regular Criterion, not Criterion Savage. Now Duty Sport is finally complete. Will they include 8-man trials? They've hinted that they might do that at some point, but we have no definitive answer if and when they'll do trials, so it would be remiss of me to act like there's anything definitive happening there. What is it? Popularity of 14 is mechanics. Why haven't they used the concept for a mainline single-player Final Fantasy game? I feel like they want to keep maintaining 14 as it is, and I don't think they want to try to have to reprogram and balance everything around a single-player game. I also don't think it personally translates any better or even good at all to a single-player game, but I'm sure they've had discussions like that. I'd be shocked if they hadn't, but they clearly have determined that it wouldn't be worth going down that route. Just a question on macros, trying to keep everything on one hotbar, so I macro a lot of stuff. That is very, very bad. What's the issue with doing macros? So you can't queue macros, which means you literally just lose global cooldowns throughout the entire fight. On top of that, it does not use them in the order they are placed always. It basically just tries to queue them all at once, and so it can hit the completely wrong button. If you do a 3-part combo in a 1-button, like just standard Final Fantasy 14 macro, there's a chance it'll just use them out of order. So you can't do that. And not to mention, I guess that wouldn't even make sense because then it would always use the first one and then maybe sometimes second, sometimes third. Yeah, you're basically just gambling with the highest probability being the thing that's at the top. So it's less efficient for damage, less efficient for cooldowns. It's just less efficient. It's just worse across the board in pretty much every conceivable way. And if you did that, people would certainly notice, and you would probably be removed from groups. People are very, very good at noticing that kind of stuff. Let's see. Don't feel bad about missing the cleave during Nights 4. Oh yeah, that thing is absolutely brutal. That might be the last question actually. There's another one here. Been self-sufficiently crafting every recipe. Do you know if ADS plating frames have increased drop rate? I think they do, actually. I don't know for certain, but I think they do. What else do I got here? You doing all right? I really liked your answer on Red Mage. I don't even remember what it was. Oh, man. And then, so yeah, there's a lot of comments. There's just, that's it. That's it. There's just a lot of comments. That's it. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, we're good. I'm free. Yeah, I don't feel too bad, but like talking a lot. I'm gonna have to like take any of my recordings today kind of slowly because I don't want to overspeak today. But yeah, thank you for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Way less scuffed next week when I'm way less tired. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Ask your questions in the comment section of the video below, and I promise I'll get a proper one next week. Anyway, be on the lookout for some fun stuff this week, and I will see all of you in the next one. Until then, bye-bye.